Welcome back to the station. Welcome back to the channel. Y'all know it is your boy Ray G, joined as always by my man JRich, co-host of the Wake Up with Ray and J show, back for our Week 4 wide receivers and tight ends rankings video. We don't want to play around. We want to get you in and out, have a conversation about the players, the matchup, the usage, the opportunity, how they can perform this week. Stick around to the end of the video and you find the information actionable and or entertaining. The only thing that we ask, hit that thumbs up button, like the content for us, and subscribe to the channel. Turn the notifications on for more content. But Jay, let's get right into it. We got a lot of stuff popping off this weekend. Give me the Elite 6. I want the Elite 6 wide receivers, the top 6 wide receivers heading into Week 4. Who we got?
All right, so Ray, at number 1, we are in 100% agreement. It is Justin Jefferson at number 1. 2, we have Jamar Chase. At 3, we have Marvin Harrison Jr. We got Rashee Rice at 4. Nico Collins, praying he's healthy, at 5. And Amon-Ra St. Brown at 6. Ray, is there anything that you have any concerns about with these top guys? I feel like the answer is no, but let me know if that's not the case.
Not really. The only thing that is concerning is we do have to monitor the situation with Nico Collins. Right now, it's being reported that he was limited by a hamstring injury yesterday at practice, popped up out of nowhere. And Nico is a player who's one of the best receivers in the NFL. Right now, his utilization score, according to our Trinity tracker, 8.33 utilization, which is yielding us close to 20 fantasy points per game. He is being utilized like a monster. So if Nico Collins, if we knew right now that Nico is 100% healthy, Jay, I was going to rank him inside the top 3. He was going to be a top 3 receiver for me right now.
Yep.
He sits at 5, and we'll monitor the situation. If he's out, of course, he'll move down. But I've got no issues. Marv should smash against the Commanders. I guess my issue is, can the Bengals throw the damn ball to Jamar Chase more than 6 times? Good things happen when you get it to him. Throw him the ball more than 6. He needs more than 6 receptions. Jefferson versus the Packers, I've got no issues. And then Amon-Ra is going to do his thing against Seattle. Difficult matchup, but I do still trust in Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yeah, those games between Detroit and Seattle have been very high scoring over the past 2 seasons, so it definitely bodes well for Amon-Ra in that matchup. But we can get to the next wide receiver range. We have Chris Godwin, once again ranked very aggressively
still there
for both of us and been very good for fantasy. Stephon Diggs, who without Tank Dell this week should see even more opportunity, and especially if Nico Collins is banged up, could see even more.
6.22 score, so good range for Diggs.
Yeah, love Diggs this week. Think he smashes once again. Next, we have Chris Olave, who I think has finally found his form a bit with Derek Carr. They have the matchup against the Atlanta Falcons this week. Devontae Adams is a player that we have been at odds with, and we're at odds again this week. I think he's going to have a pretty good week, but
is he?
We'll see.
Where do we have him ranked? Where's Adams ranked? Is he in there?
Adams is ranked a little bit lower. He's down in the 20s because you didn't rank him very high.
Get him out of here. Get him out of here. All right. Well, what are we doing? Go, DK. We don't have Adams ranked in the wide receiver 1 range. Let's go.
We got DK Metcalf, who you love this week. You're all over DK. We talked about Geno Smith. If you missed the QB video, check out the stats on Geno Smith in that one. But DK Metcalf, you have ranked very aggressively. I love DJ Moore up against the LA Rams this week. I think it's a great week for Caleb Williams. Deontay Johnson, Ray. He's back. Wide receiver 1, Deontay with Andy Dalton. Adam Thielen is out. Amari Cooper, who after you were out on him last week, he had 2 touchdowns, and now we're both back in. We have a wide receiver 13 for both of us. Mike Evans should have another good game once again. I feel like we are banking on Baker Mayfield a little bit too much, but Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, always studs. And Drake London, I think as well, is in that wide receiver 1 range. Tough matchup against the Saints, but I love what he's been doing on offense, and especially the chemistry he's building with Kirk Cousins. They're designing plays for him, and I love Drake London as a fringe wide receiver 1 this week. How do you feel about this group of players?
Well, let's talk about it. Do you think Evans should come out? Do you think Evans needs to move down to the wide receiver 2 range? And would you place Brandon Ayuk this week against the New England Patriots? Would you move him up to the wide receiver 1 range?
So ranking the 49ers receivers is tough, right? So let's quickly run through this last tier, and then we can talk about shifting guys a bit. We do have Ayuk. We have Terry McLaurin, Zay Flowers, George Pickens, Deebo Samuel, and then we'll see where we end up with Mike Evans. Deebo Samuel / Jawan Jennings / Brandon Ayuk, to me, are all kind of in that wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 range. And George Kittle is back, and you will see that when we get to the tight end ranks. Yeah. I don't know who I would rank number 1, number 2, number 3. Part of me thinks Jawan Jennings is still going to be really, really good. But when I was building my ranks, I had Ayuk at wide receiver 25 and Jennings at 26. Oh. It's the same kind of situation, and we can talk about Calvin Ridley and DeAndre Hopkins. Each week, one of them does well and the other one does nothing. So when you're ranking them, it's very difficult because you don't want to pick one over the other because both have an equal shot of performing. So I think that when you talk about these 49ers receivers, I would rank them probably Jennings, Ayuk, and then Deebo, only because I don't know if Deebo plays. But I think all three of them have opportunity to be wide receiver 2 / wide receiver 3s. But New England, man, I think you can just run on them. We got Mason up in the top tier. Why would they throw?
Well, there's a glaring name that we left out on purpose because Garrett Wilson we have right here in this wide receiver 2 range as a high-end wide receiver 2. He's being utilized more than anybody else in that Jets offense. Allen Lazard's got some utilization, but it's a little wonky. I mean, we had been ranking Garrett Wilson inside like the top 8, top 10 range. Now we pushed him down outside the top 12. Do you think we're a little too low on Garrett Wilson this week in his matchup against the Broncos?
I honestly don't. I love the way Garrett Wilson's being utilized, but if you're going to constantly rank him as a wide receiver 1, that's when I struggle a little bit. Because while I love the player, it doesn't seem like the usage is quite there to where you feel as confident. When we talk about London, clear number 1. Amari Cooper, clear number 1. Deontay Johnson, my goodness, clear number 1. DJ Moore in a great offense and more importantly, great situation. Metcalf getting deep targets. Wilson's kind of like this intermediate player fighting for red zone touches with Allen Lazard, Mike Williams, and heaven forbid, Tyler Conklin. So I think that's where when you talk about the utilization of Wilson, it's a lot between the 20s and not enough in the red zone for me. I still like him. I just wouldn't rank him quite as aggressively. The guy I think that I want to drop more than anybody is Zay Flowers, because it feels like after week 1, he hasn't done much of anything, but we know he's probably the number 1 wide receiver in this Baltimore offense that should be trailing against the Buffalo Bills.
All right, Jay, so we've got 24 wide receivers on the board right now, or somewhere close to that, something close to that. We got like a top 20-ish range. Let's talk about some of these other ancillary options that you're probably going to deploy as a wide receiver 3, and a big name that has not been included in any of the ranges, Tyreek Hill. Where are we slotting Tyreek Hill in this week?
Yeah, I have Tyreek Hill as a low-end wide receiver 2, maybe even a wide receiver 3. I think that Mike McDaniel is going to find ways to utilize him, but the problem is that this offense was so bad, and especially, Ray, he's probably going to see L'Jarius Sneed in this game. So not only does he going to have poor quarterback play or potentially poor quarterback play at the helm, but he also has a very difficult matchup against a player who knows him quite well. So I think that's where you look at that pairing, and especially what they're going to do on the ground, which is probably next to nothing. He could be higher, but if you, again, the question is can you realistically bench him? No, but when you're ranking him, the outlook looks quite poor for Tyreek Hill.
All right, let's wrap up with those fringe, wide receiver 3, flex options. Who we got? We still have got Devontae Adams down here, Rome Odunze. You touched on Calvin Ridley, Brian Thomas, Khalil Shakir, Jalen Waddle, or JSN, Packers receivers. What do we have, Jay?
So for me, here's a couple guys that I really, really like this week. Number 1, Michael Wilson. We talked about Marvin Harrison Jr. and what he's going to do against Commanders defense. Without Trey McBride, I really like Michael Wilson to have another big game. Brian Thomas Jr., a player we continuously rank in our top 30 or so. He gets deep targets, gets good opportunity. You really like Jack Smith and Jigba this week, which again, I'm kind of with you. I probably should have been a little bit higher on him this week up against that Detroit Lions defense that every single year Geno Smith plays very, very well against. Khalil Shakir, the number 1 wide receiver for the Buffalo Bills, and Josh Allen has to be at least a wide receiver 3. Love him this week. Rome Odunze, Ray, I wanted to have him in our top 20. He didn't quite make it there. Keenan Allen is practicing, unfortunately for us, but Rome Odunze against this Rams defense should absolutely smash. T. Higgins, we're always hesitant to rank T. Higgins because is he going to play? Is he not going to play? But as a wide receiver 3, I think you can start him. Another player, Ray, who I know you like quite a bit, Andre Yoshivas. Probably not in like this ranking set, but you do like Yoshivas. Christian Kirk is outside our top 24 as well. He's down in the low-end wide receiver 3 range. Jameson Williams, Ray, do you have any thoughts on him? I didn't rank him this week, I just don't believe in Jameson Williams. I think week one was a bit of an anomaly. How do you feel about him heading into this week up against Seattle?
Yeah, I got Jameson Williams ranked. I think he is what he is. He's going to be a wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3. I got him ranked 26 on my board. So I got him as a wide receiver 3 right in this range in which he's at. Rashid Shaheed, I also believe, is more in that wide receiver 3 range as well on the week. Xavier Worthy, Jay, give me where you think Xavier Worthy should slot in versus a very difficult Chargers matchup.
Yeah, so I have him slotted in right at the back of wide receiver 3. I think this could be a better week for him. I think they're going to need to utilize him, especially to stretch the field. And I did want to bring up one stat about the Detroit Lions and Jameson Williams. They're facing off against Seattle defense that has only allowed 132 passing yards per game, which is the best in the NFL. Now, again, they've played some pretty piss-poor opponents, the Patriots, the Dolphins without Tua, but it is going to be a difficult matchup for them. Mike McDonald has them playing much, much better. Another player we didn't bring up or haven't put on the list is DeAndre Hopkins and Calvin Ridley. They are facing off against the Miami Dolphins. One of these players is going to have a good game. I can almost guarantee it. And a player that you love, I know, Ray, this week, Darnell Mooney. You have him as a top 24 wide receiver up against the New Orleans Saints as the second to Drake London. I prefer London by quite a bit, but Mooney has been heavily involved. Really, really like Darnell Mooney as well. And I think that's pretty much it. Jerry Jeudy's the only other player that we did rank that we haven't touched on. And then Courtland Sutton.
No, there's one big dog, and we saved him. There's one big dog. Mr. Disgruntled. Mr. Business Decision. What do we do with Devontae Adams this week? What do we do with Devontae this week?
I don't think Devontae Adams having 2 bad games. I would probably put him Pickens.
Ahead of Deontay?
No. I'd probably put him behind Pickens. I'd probably put him behind. I think he's touchdown dependent this week.
Okay.
I think he is. I don't think I'd put him that high. But, when you look at our aggregate, I ranked him a little bit higher than I probably should have initially. And I think between the two of us, where we had him in that mid-20s, late teens, early 20s is probably where he slots in.
They've got like 36. We might be close to a 36 right here. The only names that I'm thinking, my gosh, are people going to be like, why are they not ranked? Michael Pittman Jr., I'm just not trusting Anthony Richardson in the matchup versus Pittsburgh. He's outside of my top 36. I like the usage of Courtland Sutton. I think Courtland Sutton should be a wide receiver 3 this week. I like his usage. The matchup is tough versus the Jets, and it's Bo Nix. So he would probably be closer to the back of the wide receiver 3 range for me. And then Jordan Addison. We're not sure if he plays or not, but if Addison plays,
he is practicing.
He is practicing, then I believe that Jordan Addison is in that first game back. One of those high-end wide receiver 3s that could finish as a wide receiver 2. We see the upside that Jalen Naylor has been able to provide in the absence of Addison. So I think if Addison is back, Addison is definitely a top 36 wide receiver on the week as well, Jay. So there you go. Wide receivers chasing a lot of usage, chasing a lot of opportunity. Man, I love you, Jalen Waddle, but still outside of our top 36. That's tough. It's tough. Like Jalen Waddle, but I can't buy into Snoop Huntley just yet. Not yet, Jay. Let's wrap up with the tight ends. We could have gone like 4 tight ends and called it a day, but we decided to give you like 12 of them. Let's talk about the top 12 tight ends on the week, Jay. What do we got?
All right, so this is pretty straightforward for both of us. 1, 2, 3, we have them in order. Dallas Goedert, George Kittle, Brock Bowers. Think we see another massive game from Brock Bowers, especially if Devontae Adams doesn't play. And that's the reason why Devontae Adams needs to be a little bit lower in the ranks. He does have a bit of a hamstring injury, so he is questionable right now for the game, at which point Brock Bowers would smash. Dalton Kincaid up against those Baltimore Ravens. Kyle Pitts at 5, Travis Kelce at 6. Ray? Travis Kelce in the top 6. How do you feel about that? We're not really in on Kelce.
I did not have him inside my top 6. I've got Travis Kelce ranked at 11 on the week. I don't feel good about it at all. At all.
Yeah, it's funny because you look at the next 2 guys. We'll go through 7 through 12 quickly. Tyler Conklin at 7, Pat Freiermuth at 8, Mark Andrews at 9, Ben Sinnott, who's actually Zach Ertz at 10, Hunter Henry at 11, and Cole Kmet at 12. I really like Tyler Conklin. You really like Pat Freiermuth. And that's where it stands in the ranks. They fell at 7 and 8. But you have Freiermuth ranked ahead of Kelsey, and I have Conklin ranked ahead of Kelsey as well. So we both like those players better than Kelsey, but Kelsey fell a little bit higher in the average ranks. But Mark Andrews, Ray, would you start him at all this week? Because we have him at 10. For me, he's a touchdown-dependent option, but I am not confident in him at all and would absolutely start everyone ahead of him in the rankings.
I have zero confidence. Are you going to start him? You probably have no choice but to do it based on where you drafted him, the investment in the position. What was reported was last week, it was just game script. They ran the ball 75% of the time. We didn't need he or likely to do anything. This is the game. He should be able to take advantage of Buffalo's linebackers. So far this season, he hasn't been used, Jay. His usage score right now is Trinity is a 2.72, yielding about 4 points per game. Just for some context, Travis Kelce, as bad as he's been utilized a lot more, 4.86, 5 points per game, which isn't great. And Pat Freiermuth being utilized more than either of them with a 5.64, getting us 7 fantasy points per game. All of those are below the trend line, below the threshold. They're underperforming, and we know why. Kelce hasn't played well. Andrews hasn't had opportunity, and Freiermuth is dealing with Justin Fields. This is how you use some of our tools, the Trinity Tracker, where you're trying to chase usage and opportunity and make the bet that the usage will eventually turn into fantasy points. Pat Freiermuth is being used quite a bit, and I just want to look up Conklin really quickly, Jay, to see what his score is and how he's been used inside the Jets offense. It's higher than Mark Andrews, but lower than Freiermuth and Travis Kelce, a 3.8 usage score, yielding about 6 points a game. The tight end position is brutal. It's nasty. It's not good. I don't even know what to say. Any of these guys. I mean, Brenton Strange scored last week. You had Brock Wright. We should have Brock Wright inside the top 10 potentially this week. Tight end position is a cluster, dumpster fire. Put them in your lineup. Say your Hail Marys, pray, and hopefully it works out for you in the end. But those are our top 12 tight ends. Anybody else you want to talk about from this group?
Yeah, so quickly, Evan Ingram not expected to play, so he's not in our top 12. Trey McBride as well, concussion, not expected to play. And then we didn't rank Sam Laporta because we're very unsure about his status.
Right.
The one guy I did want to bring up is David Njoku, because if he was playing, he would probably be in my top 6. I don't really care what his status is. If he is available and playing, I love the matchup against the Raiders, and he did practice on Thursday. So if you do have David Njoku, monitor that report, because while he's not in our top 12, he would absolutely be in my top 6 if he was available. Everyone else, though, I'd say is firmly outside the top 6 for sure. Colby Parkinson has an okay matchup as well, but I did want to bring up Ingram, McBride, and Laporta because they're all, top 10 options that are potentially unavailable for this week, and Njoku is one who could be back for fantasy owners.
Yeah, and Njoku's usage score, Jay, I'm going to just show this real quick before we get out of here. You can find this on ddfantasyfootball.com. Usage, tracking it with Trinity. There he is, number 1 amongst the tight ends that we put in there. 6.15 score. It's below what he should be scoring, so this lets you know there's probably some more fantasy goodness inside of that usage. But if David Njoku is playing, I'm with you, Jay. He's being utilized more than Pat Freiermuth. There goes Kelce down there. There's Tyler Conklin, and way to the back, there's Mark Andrews. So we need some David Njoku to get back on the field. But those are our rankings. Quarterbacks, running backs in the previous video. We just ran through the wide receivers and the tight ends on this one. We appreciate you being here. If you can, help this channel grow. Hit the thumbs up button, like the content, subscribe below. Make sure you tap into everything that we're doing on this channel. And if you found this show, the information, the conversation, actionable and or entertaining, subscribe. Good luck in week 4, and we'll see y'all next week. We out. Peace.